Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 50/50 Take It or Leave It podcast. And in today's episode, we talk about moving on, unfortunately. Everybody's got to do it. It's a part of life. Boo. Indeed.
My response at the beginning of the discussion is going to be different than right now.
Yeah. Well, and we also talk about how there's different ways of looking at moving on. Yeah. But moving on in this topic, we also talk about D&D as per usual and a couple of theories towards the end, which I always love. That and more in today's episode of the 50/50 Take It or Leave It podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 50/50 Take It or Leave It podcast. And I guess we should get into it, yeah?
Yeah. I'm way too excited for this discussion.
Yeah, this one is not a bit of a downer, but a lot more mellow, I think.
Yeah. This is definitely going to be a talk that can go in a lot of directions. It could be a downer, but it could also be somewhat inspirational. It could be educational. I mean, it could be a very informative.
We always try to educate people. I'd like to think.
I mean, we always try to have a little bit of some semblance of
here's a takeaway.
Here's a takeaway that you may have. Try to at least do
apply
something.
this to your life.
Yeah.
Life
skills or life knowledge, I suppose. But getting into it, I guess.
I mean, Mitch, if you're you are the most excited about this topic.
Yeah,
I'm kind of intrigued by what you have to say about it.
No, I shouldn't say I'm excited. It just is super relevant to my life currently when we're recording this. It's, I think it was an episode or two ago last episode we talked about big decisions we have to make. Or was that
the last episode?
Or was that 2 episodes ago?
That was when I was here.
Yeah.
So that was 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, right. But following in that vein.
Yeah, so I had to make a big decision recently, and that's led to having me move on from a place that I've spent the last 5 years of my life at for the majority of it. If you consider August through May,
a year,
it's majority of the year. So
I was gonna say you're only missing 4 months.
Yeah, and there was
August
actually
to May.
There was a summer I did spend in Marshall. So
there you go.
Man.
Yeah.
So Marshall, I would say, is I've spent quite a bit of time in, and I wouldn't say it's my second home, but it's definitely a place of comfort for me.
Yeah.
And finally having to say goodbye to it. And it's not like a goodbye forever. It's I'll see you later type thing, which almost makes it worse. Matt's face is just he's smiling, but it's with pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bittersweet. That's a great way to describe it.
For sure, yeah.
And I'm super excited to move on because there's been a running joke with another group of friends I have where people always joke that we're never going to leave Marshall because we've decided to go back to grad school for our master's degree here, and once we graduate here, we're just going to find jobs here, and we're going to live here forever. And
oh, my God. The never-ending cycle.
Yeah, it's a bad joke because sometimes I thought it was going to be real. I was real.
Yeah, no,
live by the Mustang and die by the Mustang.
Wow. And you see people that happens, right? That happens in the play that I'm actually in right now. They have this very discussion where they're I thought we were gonna live in Linden Falls forever. Mm-hmm. And no, we'll always be friends, but
yeah, no, I gotta bounce.
We got bigger things to move on to.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of not a deja vu moment for me, but when you finish high school and you always tell your high school friends that oh, we're not going to be the friends that break apart and never talk to each other.
Yeah, that's how it be.
And it happens way too often. I mean, it happens just because you go to college.
How do you keep up with them?
Yeah, you want to aspire to your own dreams and you don't want your friends holding you back. And essentially, if you try to stay connected to them and try too hard, you're going to hold yourself back. And not by their account, by your own. And, you just got to let them go. And obviously, if fate has it, you guys will reconnect or you'll find a way back to each other. You gotta kind of let fate do that. You can't control that. I had a buddy I went to high school with, and we had been friends since we were like 4 or 5. Super good friend. He went a semester here. He was my roommate my freshman year, but then he transferred to Vermilion and went to USD, and he messaged me out of the blue last summer and just was like, "Hey, do you think we can meet up in Yankton sometime if you're ever down there?" I was like, "Yeah, I go down there decently often. I'll let you know when I'm down. We can meet up and chat." And he wanted to meet up because he had a certain list of people he wanted to reconnect with before he had to move down to South Carolina for a marketing job that he got with UPS or FedEx.
Jeez.
And like that's what he went to school for, was marketing. So it's big, super important and good for him. Like, and for him to leave the Midwest was kind of surprising for me even. I was like, oh, I didn't ever think you were going to leave here. I thought
you'd stay there.
Get some marketing job in Vermilion, and that was going to kind of be it. But he got a big boy job, went down to South Carolina, and he had a list of people he wanted to reconnect with and before he left and tell them, like, hey, I'm doing this, and I'll be gone. Yeah. You probably won't see me a whole lot. I was like, good for you. Like, I was happy for him. I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like, good for you, man. But it was weird because we hadn't really – I tried staying friends with him specifically. I was like, I want to try to stay friends with you because he's an important friend, and it just never worked. And I felt myself getting mad at him constantly. I'm like, why aren't you putting the same effort into this friendship? Like, where's the effort at here?
Yeah.
And I was like, he's at a different school, doing different things that you're doing. Like, the interests just don't. The stars aren't aligning. So, for him to reconnect, and it's kind of like I see it starting the same things happening again, where it's like, I want to stay friends with all these people,
but you realize that they're.
How's that gonna work?
I'm gonna be living in a different town, a different state. How do I keep those friendships up? Like, at some point, I have to decide
where your allegiances lie.
Well, not where my allegiances lie, like where I put my energy into.
Right.
Like, I value friendship very heavily, but if I have to drive 2 hours to spend time with people, and sometimes eventually it's going to be to the point where it's like, why don't you guys drive down to come see me? Like, where's the
reciprocated effort?
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want it to be like that, but at some point and eventually, and when I'm talking about this, it's like you guys and Keaton and Emily and other friends I have here in Marshall, and it's like, I can't expect you guys to come down to Sioux Falls because I'm going to be living in my parents' basement. Like, not to be lame, but I don't want you guys coming and hanging out with me in my parents' basement. Like, that's it seems lame. It seems kind of pathetic.
So I guess
not super pathetic, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess to kind of boil it down to a definition, what would you consider moving on to be?
Yeah. What does it mean to you? Like,
because it seems like just
letting go.
For me, it's like a thing where it's like accepting what has to be. It's like one of those things where it's like it's accepting the fact that I can't do like everything to make things happen. Like sometimes things just happen and it's out of my hands. And moving on from that is the acceptance of it happened.
Yeah.
And as much as I would want it to change, that's just how it had to be.
I have a different from yours and yours, I'd have to say, Mitch and Kyle. Because Mitch, you said it's letting go.
Yeah, that's kind
for
of
me. For me, it's different too.
It's the acceptance more.
Not even that, right? Because to me, I think that was what I interpreted his to be. His was more about accepting.
No,
things.
mine's
like
about letting go.
And like letting go and being able to accept like these things happen.
Oh,
right. For me, what it means to move on is, not it's not as much as it is letting go. It's more about learning from it.
Okay.
So
like takeaways is how you move on.
Right. So like, for example, you're in a relationship and you may have seen that there are flaws in it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it could be on you and sometimes it could be on them.
And it's hard when they're on you and you have to like look back on that and sit down.
And I've done that a lot, and it's one of those things where to me moving on is not I'm going to completely forget that this thing ever happened or will never happen again kind of thing. It's more of like this is what I can take away from it and how I can use it in another scenario. So, like, if the faults come to me and it ends because of me, then yeah, it'll hurt a lot. The moving on part is me being able to look back, say, yes, I did do wrong. I'm accountable for that. And being able to essentially learn from it. So I won't try to do that again next time, because that's what ended it. Or if someone passed away, it's a lesson for you, at least for me. If someone were to, pass away from like a drinking thing or something, where like they died because of like liver cancer or something like that, then to me it's a lesson, as in they passed away because they drank a lot. I shouldn't drink a lot, because then I might end up like them. I take everything as if it's a lesson for me to learn, good or bad. It's something I just take along with me. So it's not as much as it is letting go of the past. It's more about how you can use past events for your future. At least that's what it means to me. And it is completely situational. Sometimes that's just not how it works. Sometimes friendships just don't last, And there's nothing to learn or take away from that. That's just me having to be like, as much as I try, it just happens. I had a friend move all the way to Mexico, there's nothing I can do about that. That's what they've always wanted. What am I going to do? Stop them? And even before that, our friendship was frayed. And as much as I wanted to fix it, I knew it was on me that it was frayed. It was all of my wrongdoings. And so I take that as a means of, this is something that I did, and it made my friendship with that person worse. We still talk now, but I feel like our friendship would be better if I didn't do these things in the past, which is why when I meet other people, I tend to not do those things that I did in the past, because those are the things that made it worse from the beginning. That's essentially how I take a lot of it, learning, lessons. It's cause and effect, in a sense. If I cause this, then this will happen. So if I don't do this, then this should happen.
And do you use those lessons to help you move on then?
Yeah. And it gets easier over time, The more you interpret that lesson, you start to get used to it. Not as in I don't feel anything kind of way, but the recovery is faster.
Mm-hmm.
So you keep getting your heart broken. Eventually you're going to start becoming you're going to adapt to it in terms of well, here's what I'm doing wrong. Here's what I'm doing wrong. And that's a sense of, and it could be overthinking at times. That does happen. But if that's how you cope with moving on like that, then sometimes that if you have to say your thoughts out loud, if you have to just be okay, well, then I have to completely overload my brain with something else in order to move on from that, in order to forget it, then that's completely fine. I just try to look at the good and bads of it and see what I can take from the good and the bad and learn from both sides. So that way, when next time comes around, I won't mess up. That's how I do it. So.
Damn.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Different approach.
It's a different approach, right? And everyone has a different approach for moving on. As I said, some people just say, fuck it. I'm done with this person forever. Never talking to them. They're done ski, blocked. And some people are maybe it's better if I keep them on. Don't talk to them a lot. But if they ever come to me to talk, then I'm not going to turn a blind eye or close the door on them.
I have a very cynical view of people.
Right. Okay.
I don't know if cynical is the best way to describe that.
Well, I mean, you're talking about, what was the last thing you were talking about? How easy it is to, well, go for it.
Essentially, it's some people tend to cut ties completely. Some tend to keep them, but not as much. They tend to keep it loose. And some tend to, I don't want this to go.
Okay.
And they hold on to it. There's different ways to really cope with it.
Unfortunately for me, it's really easy for me to, let
go.
Things, fall away. Especially friendships, which is not good. people from high school, I got along with really well. I
But
haven't
after-
talked to them in.
Years, I guess. Yeah.
I guess I did call one of them up this
Okay.
year. I called one of them up once.
Right. But still, the fact is that
Yeah,
it's very
hanging out with them.
limited.
Nope, haven't done it.
Right.
Yeah, and that's just like a really like not healthy thing. But
To me, it just depends on what they've done.
well,
That
they were my
helps.
friends. Like,
Yeah.
they didn't like do anything wrong to me, but it's just I moved away and
And
they
it was-
had their lives, I had mine, and we just.
Do you think that kind of dictates how you handle moving on, just in like general, or kind of how do you
like, is it circumstantial in terms of like?
or how do you kind of move on?
Yeah.
Like,
So it's different from what both of you guys said. It's funny because it was kind of like Aaron from
Right.
Attack on Titan,
Mhm.
where it's just like, just gotta like
You just got to.
no, it's like there is something off in the distance that I'm looking at. Like you guys are here in the now, but I'm like, there's a sunset down there that I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be down there.
So yours is more like
I'm moving towards something always. So
Right.
so moving on isn't moving away from something else. It's moving towards a goal that I've got or like a picture of myself that I see in the future. So
which I think is important because a lot of people I think have a hard time balancing what their friends value and their own values. And you see this a lot actually is you can really tell who your true friends are because they won't hold you back.
if they fully support you all the way, then they
Friends won't, let's say you have that picture in mind, that sunset you want to be at. Your friends in that moment won't let you or won't hold you, like hold it, try to
they
hold
won't
you
be
back.
able. They won't tell
Right.
you like that is an
That's a bad
unachievable
idea,
goal.
Yeah.
That's an
or
impossible thing to do.
Why don't you do this instead? Or true friends will be like, go get it. Like that's something that
Those are the
obviously you
ones-
want.
Yeah.
and they're probably also gonna like if it's an unachievable dream, they might be like, well, that's a good idea. Like
And they'll
how
try to help
realistic
you,
is it right
and they'll try to
now? And
help
like
you
like maybe like we start
specify it.
smaller, like, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They'll
What's
try to
your
help
plan
you
to get there?
succeed.
Right.
Yeah.
They help you. They
Yeah.
don't like just say like that's stupid. Like why would you ever do that?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I try to be as supportive as I can to all my friends that I consider close. You know, it's just one of those things where it's like, what's the point of being there for somebody if you're not going to support them? I mean, obviously, if it's a bad idea, I want to tell them,
Listen.
bro, for the love of God,
Do not do this.
don't do that.
Right.
But
Dude, I can strap these wings on. I can jump off and fight.
you're not
How
the Falcon.
many are you in? How many? 16 of tequila.
You're not
Okay.
Falcon. You're not the
Let's-
Falcon, bro.
Let's have a seat.
Yeah, just
Let's
take it.
just talk about this.
and
real
that's also
quick.
being a good friend because
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
yeah.
you could be the guy
Looking
who's
out
like
for 'em.
sees a bad idea and says no, and sees them having a good goal in mind, and you're like, yes,
Yeah.
that's good.
But like for me, I'm going to California
Right.
when school's done. Like,
I think that's super fucking dope.
right.
Kind of jealous, like in a good way. Like
I need
Glad-
roommates.
I got a
If-
gig in Sioux Falls. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'd have to
It-
figure out a lot of stuff before I just say, yeah, let's go to Cali, because like I have a plan with my brother and stuff, and
Well, and like just
Well,
saying,
if any of that falls through,
yeah,
you let me
guess
know.
I'm heading to Cali.
well, and for you to just be like, yeah, I'm heading to California. Like that's super. It's really hard for people to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go. It's gonna be super hard, but I'm gonna go do it, or I'm gonna go.
I
try
got a
to do it.
dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, well, I have a goal. I always like hit myself for saying dream because dreams don't come true. Goals do. Like,
Fair enough.
dreams are always that sunset in the distance. But for me, I'm already making my way,
Yep.
Yeah.
down the beach.
I guess the thing is,
The literal beach.
I guess
Yeah.
the thing that comes to my mind is that with this goal of Cali, will the same thing happen with you moving on from everyone here?
Well, that's what I was gonna get around to. Like, that's an opposite coast. Like
It is.
we're in the flyover states. Like, that's West Coast, and that's the West Coast when people think of
That's
it. Like,
Yep.
that's the West Coast.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know, because it's really hard for me to keep friendships.
Right.
Like, not like I don't want to keep them, but it's just like
It's hard.
I get busy
right.
and I do stuff.
Especially if you're out in California, like you will.
I'm going to be like hustling.
yeah.
because you need to. Otherwise, you
You're gonna
won't
sink.
achieve your goal.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, this is a I do try to keep in contact with as many people. For me, it's like when I move away from people, I tend to keep in contact with the people that I was closest to in that area. So, you know, when I was in high school, I try to keep in contact with some of my friends from that friend group in high school, and I'll probably do the same thing in college. And you're one of those people, and you're one of those people, and that's just how, you know, it is, because I consider everyone that I've known that are super close to me my closest friends. Because, I mean, you have high school friends.
Yeah.
And some of them come and go, and some of them stay.
Well, that's high school.
And that's high school, exactly. The college ones are the ones where it's like, these are people that you'll probably know more of for the rest of your life.
Well, and like my parents told me, it's like, because I was having a hard time, like, grasping the idea of moving and then going to college. And they're like, you know, high school is where you make a good amount of friends, but they're not the friends you're gonna have for life. Like,
yeah,
they're
it's
in the moment kind of friends. And they're like, yeah, college friends are kind of you eventually weed it down to the friends that you have for life. And
yeah, I'm in the process of that right now.
And yeah, I think
it's hard,
especially now that we're getting into the end of our tenure. Like next year, it's gonna be donezo. So at that point, it's like we should already have a defined group, or at least a number of people that you consider like the main people. And of course, with your case, Matt, you know, you're moving to a whole different area, so you might have a close group here, but when you go to Cali, you're probably gonna have a different group. You know, that's just how it is.
And like, I think I was trying to say it, but like, I don't actively try to lose friendships.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so hard for me to keep them, because here's where I was trying to tie it around to. I don't like the, hey, how's life going? Like, oh, how are the kids? You know, that kind of stuff, because it's just fake to me. I hate it. That's why I also despise family functions with my family.
The same way.
Because there's no real, like, talk. The only real talk that I've had with my, like, family is when, or extended family, I should say, because they live all over the place, right? In the U.S., we get together, like, for Christmas and stuff, is when they get a couple of drinks in, and then afterwards, most people have gone to bed, and we're talking about, like, politics, or we're talking about, like, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because then we get to have actual discussions, and I'm finally old enough to where they're like, okay, let's hear what he has to say. Like,
yeah.
Right.
You know. Whereas before, it was more like, okay, you're what, 17? Ha! Yeah, okay.
You don't understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. It's I get that.
That's the hardest part for me is those. It's not fake, because you genuinely care about, like, how all that's going, but
it seems that way.
It's not like now we're talking about what it means to move on, right? That's a life-changing and life-defining thing that happens.
Yeah.
It's this discussion is way different than oh, what have you been up to?
Exactly.
That tone, that entire conversation is just going to be different.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm just like, this isn't what we were like when we were friends. Like, this isn't us. Like, why are we talking like this?
Let's talk about how, you know, like how we used to talk.
Exactly.
It's not going to be the same because we're not there in person.
Well, and that's the thing. You'll never have that again. And that's the part that just kills me.
That's the hard part. Because, like, when you move out to California and you're gone for, however long it is, and for some fate universe thing, let's say, like, Kyle is out in California and you guys meet up, and it's depending on what Kyle's been up to and depending on what you've been up to, you guys might be completely different people. Life has a weird way of just changing people throughout their entire course of whatever. Living, yeah. It's called growing.
Yeah.
And this is something I learned a lot in a relationship regarding relationships is you want to try to find a person that you grow with. You don't grow together and you don't become one plant.
Right.
You grow side by side and you grow with each other. It's bad when one has to stop growing because the other one isn't keeping pace, or you're growing too fast or you're not growing fast enough, and it's a balancing act, and it's not bad to let go because you're growing too fast or you're not growing fast enough. It just means it doesn't work out. And you have to recognize that, and that's a lot harder for people to come to terms with. Mm-hmm. You have to recognize that when Kyle comes out to California after not seeing each other or talking for 2 years, that you guys may not
be the same people.
And your friendship might not be the same. And in with that, you guys may not be as close of friends. You know what I mean? Like that it's a hard concept to even say now. It's like, Mitch, that sounds terrible. Like
that's just life,
that's
man.
just how it is.
That's what moving on entails.
Yeah. It's not an easy concept at all.
It's just another chapter.
It's another chapter, but it's a, I don't want to say chapter of sorrow because that's not correct.
No,
but
it's just a chapter.
Moving on shouldn't be sad, but it is.
It's like a chapter of life. I mean,
it's hard to end a chapter, because in a book, when you're reading a book, you end the chapter, you're like, oh, that was it. I want to see what happens next.
You go to the next chapter.
You go to the next chapter.
Life ain't the same like that.
Well, and that's great. And that's great. So you get to the last chapter of the book.
Yep.
And then you're like, what?
That's
where's the rest?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. That's kind of how it is. There's always it's like an era kind of
I think I know what it is with me. Endings have never satisfied me. I am so, I think I've talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah, multiple times.
Yeah. They just don't, they're never done right for me. There are only a few endings that I have been like, I like that ending.
That works.
The ending of Sahara. I love that ending.
Fair enough.
He gets the car, he gets the lady, Matthew McConaughey, great actor. Great movie.
Everything kind of just works out for him.
Yeah, well, and like the kids in Africa, they get the gold from the ship, and like they get set for life, and they're still like playing, soccer in the streets and everything. So like, I don't know, it's a good ending because it also
it doesn't entail like a second one or anything.
No,
it's a definitive ending.
That's the end. Yeah, there's no Sahara 2 that's coming out. It was just a one and done, and it satisfied me because I think it progressed the way it should have, and it ended the way it should have.
Fair enough.
But like, I don't know. Endings just, I don't like the finality of them. Like where it's like, this is it. Like, take it or leave it. Ha.
Yeah.
And that's what friendships end up being. Especially like anything that I have here is gonna be done when I go to California. Like, just real talk. Like,
that'll just be it. That's another era gone. The college era, and then you leave, and then now you're entering the Cali era, and then you have your own. You're entering like a different arc entirely.
Yeah,
essentially,
and that arc's gonna be one of like hustle and of sacrifice, and where I'm gonna be bussing like.
Yeah.
And so what am I gonna have time for? I don't have time for video games all that much now, and I'm in college. Yeah. That's when you have a lot of free time. And comparatively,
it's starting to dwindle. Essentially,
it's been dwindling. Like I've always like looked at streamers and stuff. I'm like, oh, that would be so fun. That'd be so awesome. And now I'm like, I don't even know how they have the free time to do this. Like when they started, I don't even know how they have the free time.
The thing is that for them too, they started out as hobbies. Things that they were like, I'll do this on the side while I work a part-time, full-time job.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and they started garnering a bigger following to the point where they had to make a choice.
What I'm talking about, though, is like, how did they even have the time to even edit and to make videos on the side? Like, I don't know. And like, I don't know. That's how I feel about life, I guess. Like, how do you even have time for anything anymore?
Right.
That's why I'm happy that I found the thing that makes me happy, right?
Right.
But
I think it's hard for a lot of people to find that.
Well, and it's
almost like a trial and error type thing. Like,
oh, for sure.
Gotta learn. I mean, that's all life is. It's learning
and moving forward.
You do something, you make a mistake, you learn from it, you move on. Something else will come around. Then you're like, oh yeah, I did do this one way before and it didn't work for me. And then you try something else.
And that's where people get hung up on is everyone makes mistakes. It's how you react to those mistakes that define, in my opinion, that's where the definition of your personality, who you are, what you're about, what do you live by, those reactions is what makes you who you are.
Yeah.
You're faced with adversity. Everyone's faced with some type of their own adversity.
It's how you take it.
I've learned this a lot working in working at athletics, video is my thing, and I know video in and out, and it's second nature for me almost. I will explain something to someone, and they'll go right over their head. And it's just, I forgot where I was going with this.
No, you're good.
Yeah, no, I get it, man.
I think you were talking about like finding the things that like you're passionate about and moving towards those things instead of like.
And when you deal with adversity, you start to see who you kind of really are. You know, are you the kind of guy who backs away when in the face of adversity, or you guy who takes it head on? Do you ask for help? Do you go it alone? Right. I mean, whatever you do when it comes to obstacles and adversities and your trials, how you react to all that defines who you are. I mean, are you going to be able to move on if you fail? Are you going to be able to succeed?
Well, are you going to be able to move on when you succeed? Yeah, I think that's a good.
Yeah, like how do you take it after you've either failed or succeeded? Do you just wallow in it after you fail, or do you cherish the victory as if it's like I knew I could do it, or like I barely got through it?
Well, and I think actually today in class, I was in an acting class, and because I love acting, just in case anybody out there didn't know that.
Right.
But our professor was talking about like, you know, when you're acting and like something goes wrong, like characters don't wallow, like they just don't. Like it's not compelling, it's not fun to watch. Like they fight. Like they fight to have things go right, even if like the odds are stacked against them like tenfold. They like fight and fight and fight to try to make things work out for them.
Yeah.
And that's what life is. Like that's what moving on is. Like that's your fight to try to make things better for yourself or to try to get out of a bad situation.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what moving on is to me. It's the fight to try to get like somewhere better than you were today.
And you know what that reminds me of?
What?
It reminds me of a lot about what had happened in our DnD session. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
There was a lot in there, especially with this last one, that has those echoes of like fighting for your goal.
Yeah.
And how you're like, I need to do this. And specifically with one character for sure, where it's like, well, it's actually, I guess, two. One is moving on in terms of coping with the death of a loved one, whereas the other one is trying to move on as in we need to do this or we're fucked. You know, it's like this is my goal, and I get you're going through something, and I know it sucks, but we can't stay here like long enough. We have to continue. You know, that's what.
And on the topic of staying here, we can't be doing that either because we have to get to our break.
Yep.
And then we have to talk about D&D. So we'll see you guys in just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This time we're talking about D&D now, and as always, I will take a back seat as Mitch and Kyle bring you tender-handedly through our last session.
Yeah, and this session has been at least this one and that last one had been an absolute ride, I would say. Like that battle with the Remoras, those did a number on all of us. Some emotionally, some literally, as it killed us. And
some both.
Some both.
Yeah.
And this session kind of highlighted the aftermath of that battle and what possibilities could like pertain from it. So
so the session started off with Edwin and Leatfa, who were still alive, escaping the Remharas.
Yeah, we made a lot of
harass,
not harass.
Harass.
Well, they harassed us, so
they did.
They did.
So they were escaping them, and eventually Edwin found Leatfa, and they got on the broom together, and they went searching for the ship, thinking they were going in the right direction, and surprisingly, they were. I really thought you were gonna screw them.
I don't think Matt.
Real talk. Do you want to know why I didn't?
speed things
how
up.
much longer on the session would that have like brought?
Oh, yeah, true.
Like
we would have had to go through an entire hour, maybe, just going over them being lost in the mountain.
Yeah, that's the majority of the reason why I did it. If I wanted to run a good, like, real, like...
campaign.
Yeah, like, where no timetable... They were headed in different directions in a blizzard.
They weren't going to make...
Yeah.
With
a monster coming after them. That has, I found out later, unfortunately, tremor sense, which means if you're on the ground, it knows where you are. Yeah, and it was way closer to layout than the one turn we went back, but I just let it go.
Right, because with Leoffa too, it's like if she dies, she dies.
Well, yeah, but also like
that's just the circumstance that was given.
Along.
Yeah, like move the story along.
We were in a circumstance where it's like, I mean, if you died here, it's like that's just how it had to be.
I will say, the amount of gratification I had when Daniel let off Fireball and it did nothing. Felt pretty good.
Yeah.
That was funny. That was really funny.
Yeah, but then he did it again.
Yeah.
He knew what would have happened because he did it before, but he aimed it toward you. It's just the problem is that he should have known about the concussiveness of a fireball, especially on a mountain. I was thinking maybe an avalanche would have started or something, but
anyway, that was the session last time.
Anyway, keep going.
So to kind of go over
the
aftermath. Yeah.
They eventually do find the ship. It's upside down in a glacier.
No, in like just past a small like grouping of trees.
Oh, that's right.
75 feet, like 70 feet away from where the.
Yeah.
It was carried quite a ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they find it. They dig the snow so they can get into the ship, and they rest, and then eventually they do. While all the rest of the party is dead and gone for X amount of time.
Ooh, yeah.
They know that we're gonna come back, so they're like, okay, we need to find a way to mark so they can have an easier path to finding us.
Yep.
Just smart. That's a good thing to do. So they got some sticks, right?
Yeah.
They basically made some signs to lead us in the direction that we needed to go. However, the sticks
I asked him what they did. He said, we put some sticks up. I'm like, huh.
Yeah, sticks are going to be super helpful.
You put up sticks on a mountain in the middle of a blizzard that may be covered in snow at the end of it. I mean,
I'm just like okay, yeah. You put up branches. Like
you did it.
And the thing was that it was like halfway to where we needed them to be. So like for the first half of the journey back, we didn't know where to like really go until we saw those sticks like halfway into our journey. But to kind of also go over something that happens in the ship. So they get back in there, they kind of discuss their plan, and they notice Sapphire
on the third day.
Because they kind of just go over.
I waited too to see if anybody would ask to look for her, and no one did.
I probably wouldn't have. Because I'm dead. I was like,
right.
It's
I
not
meant
my
between Leia.
I thought about it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure
I don't really give a shit about that dog.
But you still had the thought of like
the whole thing. Sapphire's okay. I wonder if Darby's okay.
And I feel like
Do you guys like the fact that Darby had rolled all the way to the captain's
I think the
fact that frog has not died yet.
Well, he hasn't been in any precarious situations where he did die. Every time that Arthur has died,
he left Darby.
He left Darby. So Darby has just
good
been
thing he's
really
not
lucky.
a Beastmaster Ranger.
Well, yeah, he just has it as a pet. He has it as an actual pet. He just has it as like I'll keep it here because I like my pet and I don't want him to die. It's obviously dangerous.
I would laugh if he made like a terrarium in the like thing and just had him there, because then he would never die. I'd never kill him.
Yeah,
but that'd be just hilarious.
I think if you
visit him from time to time in his little home.
If we left that dog for one more day, I feel like it was done. You were essentially doing death saves with that dog for every day. A day passes, death save. Another day passes, death save.
So what?
That's that third day. Dead.
Was it like a greater restoration we had to give it to like fix it, or is it just that it was just rough?
Like, I was gonna say like a restoration, lesser or greater, because it like was under like a poisoned effect from just like the not eating, like all the damage it had suffered.
He's essentially
so cure wounds wouldn't have done anything.
Right.
Yeah, because I did healing hands, healing word was used. But you cured it of its injuries.
Puppy's like sick.
But yeah,
like,
you need like a cure disease kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which would be nice for my healing hands to have to make it a little better. It's because all it is just
like you can heal like a dog as much as you want, but if it's malnourished,
doesn't matter.
As malnourished, like it's missing like a part of its diet or what it needs.
So we see Sapphire
after it gets tossed.
Yeah, it gets absolutely tossed around in there, and it was left for about 3 days, and it was on the brink of death. But luckily, we were able to get it to live. Obviously, not to the point where it's happy and walking around, but we're like, okay, well, we need to give it food, and we need to make sure it's still breathing. So
they basically are taking care of Sapphire, and they decide that it's best not to leave Sapphire because Leafa did a medicine check and she didn't roll very well, and
so
she's
Leafa's like whole thing in this session, right? Because everyone had like a little side thing in this session, even though not a lot happened.
Mm-hmm.
Her whole thing in this session was, I already failed with Eclipse, so I want to see if I can save Sapphire. And if she did not save Sapphire, Leafa would probably have been very uncooperative with a lot of people, because imagine failing twice to save like a very close person that you cared about in rapid succession, no less, because you were just unaware or you were just unable to help in general. Like that would have just destroyed her. So luckily she figures it out. She doesn't like get the best roll, but she figures this thing is going to die, And for those 3 days, as we said, they planned out how to get us back, and they tried to help out the dog as best as they could.
Mm-hmm.
So then
they also bore witness to something like yeet off with a Remharaz.
Yep, and they also saw above the quote unquote skylight that it used to be like glass.
The bottom.
Turned upside down to make a skylight. They didn't see it, but something had essentially passed the sun fast enough to kind of make it go dark for a moment, which means whatever it was fucking huge. Because it's not like a small like line. I was like, oh, you still see the sun. It's like a quick eclipse, no pun intended on the deceased eclipse.
No,
but it just passes over the sun, and it's big enough to cover it completely.
Yeah,
and that is like
that happens.
So
there's a couple hints that there's a much larger predator out here,
an apex predator.
Yeah, and Matt said in session that there's two. Right?
There is one being the big old dragon, and
spoilers,
the spoiler.
Kyle.
Spoiler, God.
Well, but we don't know what the second one is. But it's dangerous enough. I think you mentioned it had multiple legs. I think, or you talked about one of the creatures that had.
No, that was when Zion was asking about like what other
creatures.
like monsters are there on the way up to
So
a mountain.
Speaking of Zion.
Yes.
You kind of go over, I guess, what everyone did in their sword space for those 3 days.
While Edwin and Leafa are getting back to the ship and surviving and taking care of Sapphire and all that good stuff, me, Arthur, Oberyn, and Sylvana are in our sword spaces, prepping for our return to the prime material.
Yeah.
So the main thing.
Do you guys remember why they're called sword spaces?
I knew this was going to be on the test.
No.
I should have studied.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Fuck.
That space grows from the people we slay.
Right.
Right. But why is it called a sword space?
So, like, when they were first teaching you guys about this, the metaphor they used were, like, cutting people beneath your blade. Like, and that just means, like, your power, essentially. Yeah. So your sword space is, like, your,
definition of power. Yeah.
Right. Anyway.
I knew. I aced the test.
Knew.
Yeah,
I knew, teacher. I just needed you to tell me the answer first.
No,
I answered it. I answered it before she started talking, Kyle.
That's me. I'm the student in class who's like, I could have said that too, teacher. I just want someone else to,
Exactly. No, so we all go to our sword spaces. 3 out of the 4 of us make archways. and start enacting Cerulean's explanation of how you transport yourself from sword space to prime material without dying.
Tell me a little bit about what your interior design was. I want to hear a little bit about your art.
I'll get to Arthur and Sylvanas first, and I'll just say best for last. Of course.
Okay,
exactly.
All right, that's the Zion way.
So Sylvana did a very ranger type archway with the trees and.
Yeah.
It was like obsidian trees, right?
Obsidian trees, 2 obsidian.
Well, that's the aesthetic of like the sword space. Yeah. That's why even Arthur's like there wasn't like wood. There was like like
obsidian.
It was like that.
Obsidian.
Yeah, and like the skull was made out of like glass and like black obsidian.
It wasn't like
glass.
bones.
Right.
Guys, you're giving it away.
Anyway, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
we're so excited.
Yeah.
Right. So Sylvana had 2 trees going up, and like the branches like connected over the top, and then was it another tree started growing out of that one?
She mentioned it being like it turned into like a circle at the top.
Yeah.
Where an orb was supposed to be, but there was no orb. It was just like 2 trees that would essentially
fire elemental I took to run the ship.
They would essentially just like spiral into one tree.
Can you imagine?
Like
you remember how long ago that was? So long ago.
The fire elementals.
To be honest though, like it's like it seems like yesterday for me in my head.
Right.
It's been almost like a good long while, like maybe half a year at best.
In like real time for us, it's been over a year, but like
in game, it feels like it happened not too long ago. I mean, if we
it didn't.
If we really,
it didn't.
I was like, if we really take the timeline, that's
not that long ago.
Anyway,
sorry,
no.
Right.
So Sylvana, very forestry, very tree
centric.
Woodland, a lot of woodland stuff, which is
Ranger makes sense.
Right.
Arthur's was a mammoth skull with the skull eyes having the blue,
like little blue flames in them. I think you said, right?
Yeah, like a tiny like blue flame in it, kind of like illuminating, and not too much, but like subtly,
like illuminating like the socket and all that.
And then the tusks had torches on the way as you walk in, right?
So past the tusks, I think were torches, like lining.
Because he had a very big sword space. Yeah. Like he effectively created
a lot of people.
He effectively created like the elephant graveyard from
Lion King.
I'm telling you, guys, there's a lot of Lion King references in that session.
And he
no one noticed except for me.
Well, I mean,
through you, we noticed.
Yeah, through you, we were like, I killed Mufasa. You know, like I
remember
who you are.
Remember.
Just to give a little context, I walked into the session and I was like, "Oh, what did
Lion King is such a great movie."
What did I say? I was like, "Your king has returned."
Your king has returned.
Jesus.
And everyone was like, "What the fuck, Mitch?"
No, I thought it was hilarious.
I thought, I mean, it fits your character.
Yeah, other people were saying that, which is just unfortunate. No, I don't know.
I thought it was funny.
I liked it. I
thought it was funny too.
Hey, Rafiki, he's
exactly
he's returned.
Exactly. Anyway, though, so Arthur makes this very cool, very metal elephant graveyard type entrance to his sword space.
Yeah, like
it's like his gate.
Yeah, he essentially made his gate, and he tried to like tear into it for the first time. It was unsuccessful, but he's getting.
It's right because he tried putting it on.
He tried to put his axe. He tried to make the anchor his axe, which is like.
Which in theory would that work? No. Okay.
It would be cool, but
it'd be cool, but
it has to be a place you're familiar with, not an item. If it was an item, I would
Brandon,
have just
if you're listening, that's your heads up.
Exactly. It's. The way it's supposed to work is you need a tether point, right? Because right now, the only thing that tethers you to your sword space is your death. Right?
You need something else.
That's what you ride up.
Yeah.
Like that's what the lightning is. It's like it's making the pathway for you to your sword space out there in the cosmos. Right. When you make a permanent doorway, it's permanent. Right? That's what your gate's gonna become. Right?
Okay.
That's your and that's like a road basically.
Yeah. So instead of just dying straight up, now you have
a spot that you can go like to it. Right.
So if I wanted to put it on like let's say a saddle of a certain monstrous beast,
you want to put it on the saddle. It has to be.
It has to be a place. Okay.
So like if you said the mountain where it resides, that
or
would be the place.
If you said I put it at the center of the crater in like my house or my old home, and like I build like around it, and now that's like like a half mile down, but we have like stuff all over the top of it, and it's in like a vault somewhere.
Yeah.
Like
crazy.
that's a place.
Yep. And I'm feeling, and you can probably go out the
mansion
same way. Yeah.
is a place. Her floating laboratory that is no longer floating
is a place.
Is a place, right?
Which is why she was able to.
And once you open up a permanent doorway, like it's a lot easier to make temporary doorways, like
yeah, because then you'll be
because you already have that established connection.
So now then you can eventually make it in just anywhere you want, but you first need to start with having a door placed.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Right.
So yeah, Arthur makes his super metal. I think it makes like drum sounds
in the skull. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the base of the skull, you hear like the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super
and it also
cool. Super
thrums with power, like in the cracks of the glass.
Like, God.
His by far was, in my opinion, was the coolest.
It's
I was like,
so cool. And then we were like, we threw out the idea of like, bro, what if you made a throne of like
the corpses
of your enemies?
And then he made that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
But then it's actually all the like skeletons, and it's the skeleton of the Remharaz and like people, and like you see a couple kids in there, and
it's like, oh my God, Arthur, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So
metal.
AF.
Yeah, but
so then we get to mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we get to mine.
Let's hear it.
So it's two crystalline towers going up to the top, and I'll describe how I described it to Matt in a second, but I want to wait for that. Two crystalline towers going up to that are kind of like the side pillars, and around. I didn't describe this to you, but the dragon's claws and like feet and body
are in them.
Are like, yeah, it's like on the tower, and then their necks reach around to make that top archway.
Okay.
They're kind of like they're
like perched on each tower.
And then their heads or their necks intertwine, and then the heads come back around to look down as you're walking through.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Super very like dragons judge you. Dragons are very high prestige. Blah 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 blah. All that good stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and obviously it's got the deep aesthetic where the blue and the black obsidian, all that plays into it. It looks super dope, in my opinion. Very Zion-y like.
I think what you did was what he would probably do. I mean,
and he tried to make life in the sword space.
You also tried to create.
And he's like, I didn't do anything cool, and I'm like, you're the only one that tried to do something.
I mean, like
really,
like interesting,
groundbreaking.
Other than like.
For you guys,
other than Arthur trying to like cut into his game,
right.
Yeah. Like you're the only one who was like, I want to actually try and make something. That is possible.
So the reason Zion, context, Zion tried recreating Una
to make life.
Yeah, to make Una in his sword space, just because he's underneath everything. He's dealing with the fact that he's gonna have to let her go soon, and he's not sure how he feels about that yet. So. He's trying to save a little piece of her before he forgets about her. And it actually ties in really well with the moving on thing. It's Zion is having to move on from Una, which he saw as a temporary Band-Aid to help fix stuff, but now it's become more of a scar on his body, and he has to get it removed. Or more of a tattoo. And
I was even going to say, like, you probably wanted him as a temporary, like, ally, but then you grew an actual connection with him to the point where it's like, my bad, I'm assuming now you're, but you made a connection with her to the point where it's like, I don't want to anymore.
I don't want to let you go.
I know what lies ahead for me, but I thought that me and you were still going to be
easier.
Right. Isn't that the fucking
so to fix that, Zion's like, I'm gonna will this. I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna not let this defeat me.
Yeah, I feel like he'd start crying at this point. Like he'd start making it, and it's like for the first time he starts to like tears start to be formed.
He probably did cry. Come on. Yeah,
because like
probably did. With no one being around, he essentially reached out into. How did you describe it? Like
into creation, like
you essentially went into like the center of the universe.
Well, everybody like has like used their will to create things, but like you're touching something more sacred to the universe. You're trying to touch life, and create that.
You're pulling from life force, like
from death, which that's how life is made, like with death, right?
Yeah, circle of life.
Exactly, but Yeah, go ahead.
Essentially we're trying to recreate Una in this sword space, create her being and her emotions and everything that Una is in the sword space. So whenever I die or I want to go visit her or go to my sword space, she's there. And I don't, obviously it wouldn't be something where I could take her out of the sword space and take her into battle with me. That component wise, that doesn't work. This is more for the player aspect of things and
some for you.
Yeah, the emotional connection.
Dude, I got an idea now.
Yeah.
We'll
so
get to that later.
So he tries to make it, and it just, you make it, I will say this, Matt, you made it seem like it is possible. Is it, or is this something where...
I mean, what did you roll when you did it?
I thought I rolled decent.
You did.
But you're also pulling into something that is so powerful.
Like I said, and not just powerful, but it's chaos. You're trying to make life. Like, that's not what the deep is really about. Like if you think about it,
because we're trying to teach you about
it's about holding on to life and making sure your life is the best and making sure that you fight for what's yours. The Titans are what create life.
You're essentially doing
and destroy life and do all of that.
Like, shit, I'm kind of going against everything that.
Well, no. Creation is a very important thing, right?
Yeah.
And the deep is like the deep likes innovation and all that kind of stuff. But that ability, creating life, that doesn't belong to the deep. That is the Titans, right? They create and destroy new. That's why the world hated them. Yeah. Because they would constantly be destroying the things that were there and creating new things, like new plants, new life, new fauna, whatever. And so to try to grab that and to use it, this is a force that is pure chaos, right? And so trying to turn it and shape it condense it and then rearrange it in the way that you want is an orderly thing to do against something that is by definition not orderly and just insane to try to use.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why most people have to use magic. Like when they create or destroy stuff, that's the small avenue and small piece of creation that they get to use.
But you were just reaching into
and
it.
You're in the universe right now. You're in your space, right? There is nothing else there. So you got your hands on whatever it is that creates life.
You even mentioned that it was going to disintegrate your hand.
Your hand started
you had me make a Constitution save.
You start to fucking Thanos turn to dust.
Yeah, your hand started flaking away in your own sword space because what you were attempting to use was so raw and powerful.
I think it's achievable. I gotta just figure out.
I mean, he said it is possible. It's just highly difficult.
He made it seem like Arthur putting his axe to access his sword space was possible.
Takes time, like all things that we've done.
Well, that one isn't. I mean, the axe one, that would be cool, but it's just not
possible.
Right.
Okay.
I just didn't know if it was something like that or if it was.
Now, if he wants to, once he has his permanent doorway up, use the axe as his flavor way of opening up a not permanent doorway, but the way that Cerulean just flicks her hand and one opens up.
Yeah.
He could use his axe to cut through reality,
which would be pretty cool.
Right, it'd be pretty cash money.
It'd be pretty cash.
But yeah, so that's along with building the doorway, building the archway. I tried to make Una. Yeah. Did not go as well as I'd hoped, but
And for the first time, Zion started to cry in his sword space.
Well, and
I know.
I'll tell you this: it is possible. Creating life in that space with the amount of power that you guys will achieve, it will be possible.
But it's just getting the power.
It's hard
and knowing
to do.
What to do.
And it's hard to do.
Yeah.
That is what gods do.
We're not gods yet.
Tiamat, move out of the way.
Right.
Muhammad.
New dragon god coming in.
I'm just kidding.
That is indescribably complex.
Yeah.
And it goes against one of the gods that exists right now.
Oh. Yep. I mean,
which god would that be? I'm just kidding.
Do you know?
Would it be the Raven Queen? Yeah, because she's the controller of
I don't
fate.
give a fuck about her.
I mean, she's probably the one
Me and
that
her,
would,
same level.
she'd be
Same
she's
level.
probably the one that's more like the one that's
Same
probably,
job, one has more experience.
Yeah, she's like, you guys are kind
Same
of
title.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Just
so
give me a
it's-
few years.
So
we'll
if she
get there.
so if she notices that someone else is creating life somewhere through non-magical means, it's gonna be like,
She's gonna have to find out.
the
and
fuck?
she
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah, it's yeah.
First of all, there's people dying that I don't see here. Now there's people being made that I didn't make. What the fuck is happening?
It's like, why is there a new soul that is like here? Did anybody know about this?
And that's gonna be stepping
Hello.
on, and that's gonna be like stepping on toes that you don't want to step on. You gotta talk to HR about it.
Well, and it's just
Exactly.
like who out here is making life that I don't know about with immense power that I didn't know about?
Yeah,
Red flag. Ding,
Yeah,
ding,
yeah,
ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
but to I guess
Yeah,
kinda tie
we
it
can
back in.
Yep.
Continue
Yep.
on. I try to make it when it doesn't work, and then we all pop back into out of sword space
Yep.
to prime material area.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
I guess Oberon,
Uh,
take yours away.
his-
What happened in your
his-
3 days?
Well, I didn't make an archway like everybody else did.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's all right.
But I probably will the next time I show up because I feel like that's coming up soon. I'll be in that. Kind of like a revolving door for me, you know. So I instead of making the archway, I decided to talk to my patron.
Yeah.
Hey, did you like that?
I did. I thought it was fine. I think what because like that's how his patron would talk to him. It's one of those things where it's like, look, I know I sound like a crass piece of shit because like I'm not giving you any blunt answers, but me and you have I had to find you for a reason. He hasn't disclosed why, but he understands that if I told you some things, it might cause other things to happen, and I don't want that.
Yeah.
At least not yet, you know?
So what did you guys talk about?
So, and I thought the way I talked to him was not bad because I was like, I could just stand there and talk to him. But I was like, no.
I liked it. I
have
liked
to-
it a lot.
We have to set up, we got to set up a sit down.
I'll give him a chair. Yeah.
So I give him a chair, give myself a chair, and we sit down and we talk. And I essentially go over like why he, about like me understanding a little bit about what it means to be cunning, and like why things had to happen. And then I confronted him about, so you did do it kind of thing, where for context, he killed my brother kind of thing. He just wanted to confirm it, and he was like, well, I needed to give you motivation. And Oberon, I mean, for everyone else, they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I don't get where you're coming from with that. But to me, Oberon isn't. If he talked to Oberon before he understood what it meant, he'd be pissed. Because it's like, motivation for what? It's like one of those things where it's like, you just straight up killed my brother for nothing. Like, you're not. So you just killed my brother. Don't tell me why, and you expect me to listen to you. But now it's one of those things where he is angry about it because it's like, it was you. But like the mentors, it had to happen, and it sucks because Oberon is like at a point where it's like everything that happened has to happen, and all of these things need to be taught to him.
It's amazing how quickly you guys pick up on the stuff that I'm trying to lay out for you guys. Like each of you, like Mitch with the deep originally, beautiful, and Kyle with the messages that I'm.
Yeah. It takes a bit to interpret.
Yeah.
Because in the heat of the moment, I'm like, what the fuck?
I feel very fulfilled right now.
Because like
Good.
Because Oberon's starting to, he gets it. It's like, if you didn't do it, I wouldn't be here.
Something else would have, yeah.
Right, and that's why he even asked him about like, so those other Oberons I saw, did they ever do the same thing? And they were like, no, which makes Oberon think like he had to find me specifically. He probably tried to find others.
And you asked if any of the Oberons took the deep, right?
Yeah, and they also said no.
Nope.
So the thing is that Oberon, we'll call him Oberon Prime now, is like the one Oberon who has done things correctly.
We talked about on the podcast about how like the statistical odds of you actually taking the deep was very you weren't very
because
low.
Oberyn has always never taken the deep or never found my patron to even think about it. This one Oberyn.
It's like Leafa taking the deep and turning out, hey, Spider Queen's actually answering to this guy. It's like,
yeah.
What?
And the thing is that with this Oberyn, it wasn't even him. Like it was him making the decision, but it was also like an outside force had to kind of guide him, because with his patron, it's like
Zion.
I had to
Zion
find you,
there.
and I had to make specific things happen for you to get to this point, which is essentially
and not just you,
but everybody else at the same time in the deep. Because like I had to get the centipede on Zion so we could find where we were.
Did anybody like notice this yet? I haven't said it yet, but I'm gonna now. After your patron visited you, you found the centipede in your bag.
There you go. We essentially it essentially was like dropped.
Tricky, sneaky,
and the thing
tricky
was is that it's the thing that because everyone else doesn't really. Well, you haven't seen it yet, but like a lot of everyone else is like, there's not really a reason. Like for Brazil, it's like I tagged along because it could be beneficial. At least that's what it looks like. And with Edwin and Leafa, it's kind of the same way. It's like we're performers. We saw this. This might be cool. Let's go. And Arthur's kind of the same way. But for some reason, me and Zion are more connected because it's like we both had.
Well,
things
look
that
who
guided
had a
us.
session 0 and look who didn't.
Yeah.
Right. And it also just kind of, and even before that, like with our backstories in general. Like just us, we both had the same like kind of background in terms of like who we were, and I mean that also probably helped as to why he chose us in the beginning for session 0.
I was gonna say because originally it wasn't supposed to be me and Oberyn. It was you had other people paired up, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can we hear those pair ups or no?
Would that be like spoiler-ish because it was like.
Yeah, it's just it was unfortunate because like people kept changing stuff in their backstories, and so then I was like,
Gotcha.
It made it so much harder. Yeah, original matchup I had Oberyn and Edwin, and then I had you and I was gonna have you and Leafa, or no, I was gonna have you and Arthur, Leafa, and Brazil.
And
that
me
was
and
gonna
Edwin.
be
Okay. And that's probably why I saw, like, in my vision once of all the multiple different ones. And, I mean, technically they still could have happened, just not in this.
Or are happening. Or will happen, or whatever.
And that's
crazy.
And that's the thing, too, because his patron and Oberyn and his patron are, I guess, not one and the same, but they're essentially kind of what Oberyn has to kind of become.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because, like, look at everything that my patron has done, and then you tie that with Oberyn. And, I mean, he has a glaive now. He essentially has because essentially his patron is a hooded, glaive-wielding man.
Hooded figure.
And look.
Hooded figure.
Yeah, and look, and then you look at Oberyn, who is also a glaive-holding with now I think a hooded like thing going on where it's like a hooded duster thing, but
like you got the ability to put up a hood. Yeah, like it's down.
Essentially, like they're becoming the same person. I think, and I mean this can kind of because I mean to kind of wrap up the rest of the session.
Yeah,
right?
let's wrap up the rest of the session. Then we'll get.
We all kind of pop back in.
Yep, we all pop back.
We discuss a little bit about what is going on, and of course the big thing that kind of happens in this is that Sylvana knows about what happened to Eclipse.
Yep.
Thanks
she locks
to
herself in a room.
She locks herself in the room. The rest of us kind of devise a plan, and Zion brings up, "Are you sure you guys really want to do this?"
Right.
Right. And
I
essentially,
made that very clear to everyone.
And me and Arthur and Zion all kind of perform like a blood pact thing.
Yep.
Which I'm like that.
That's pretty cool.
For me and like Zion, it's like, look, I've known you the longest, and I relate to you the most because of our noble bloodlines. So of course I'm gonna go with you this whole way.
That's so dope to hear, noble bloodlines.
Because it's just like, and it takes out the glaive, and he does it like the samurai way, where it's just a simple like swipe, and then I'm just like, here, take it.
Yeah. Arthur is the one who initiated this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Arthur saw
hand.
and he saw respect as well. He was like, "Look, we've already done. I'm already here. If I didn't want to be here, I would have said no."
Brandon has taken the teachings of the deep really well too. He could put on the brakes a little bit every once in a while.
Yeah.
But I love it. The tenacity,
he's willing to do things.
The willingness to learn too, and
Yeah.
to take those lessons. Anyway.
And so we devise a blood pack. Edwin does not, because he sees it as completely. It looks like unsanitary to just kind of cut your hand open and stuff. But it happens, I guess. But we all kind of perform like this promise to each other that we won't leave each other behind. Because like I've died, and Arthur has witnessed me dying, and he holds that as like we fought in battle, and I highly respect you. And the same for Zion. I took the final blow on you and killed you, but you have to understand that this is just how it has to be.
Yep.
You're gonna come back, and we're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
And he respects you for that. That you were able to at least be like, look,
Yep.
I have no hard feelings about it. I would have done the same thing if it was you. So. Hey,
I would have.
Exactly, and I think that's what Arthur understands. He's like, you would have did the same thing to me if I was in your shoes.
It's the same thing that Cerulean did to him.
Yeah,
I recognize what you were trying to do.
Yeah, and there's a respect to that.
Yeah. So after we do that, I go Leafa and I go to talk to Sylvana, and basically Sylvana questions why we're doing this. Like, why are we going after this? Why do you think you can tame this dragon? Obviously, it's a dragon, so the pretty low chance of you getting this. Like, what's the point of all this? And I have to explain to her that this is not the first time I've tried this. I've done a lot of research into this. This is like the one thing I've sought after for the past X amount of years of my life. Like, this is it. This is the thing. Mm-hmm. And then I show her this.
We're at the precipice here.
Yeah, this is it. This is what it is.
And this is how it be.
Yeah, and then I show her the scales that I got from the deep. And explain how, like, I wasn't expecting to come across this, but now I've had this awakening, and I can do a lot more magic now, and I have the scales, and I think this is kind of destiny showing me the way I gotta go.
Yeah.
And all this stuff. And I explained it to her, and she's like, oh.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then
that's where we left off.
Then the session ended,
And I think that gives a lot of inclination as to what will happen next. Because this was all about fortifying, like, for real.
Relationships.
Yeah, like, this is, like, for real. Like, guys, we have to come together. Because at this moment, before we all got killed and whatever,
we're just kind of hee-hawing around.
This is what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the Avengers, the first Avengers movie, right? You know when Phil Coulson died? That's Eclipse, right?
Yeah.
And at first,
oh, dude, a little bit.
So we're all like at this moment where we're all like, yeah, we're all equally strong and stuff, but we are not like together. I think the death of Eclipse is what has to bring. I mean, it sucks because it had to be Eclipse, but it was also like. It seemed like we were all extremely cocky with our powers, right?
It's like the Mighty Nine when Molly died.
Right. It shows.
Spoilers.
I'm
just kidding.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
It shows.
I'm not into campaign 2
you will
much
be.
as I was campaign 1.
You will be. It takes a little bit of time.
I will say, get to the pirate arc. I love the pirate arc.
Yeah. Once you get like deeper in, at first you're gonna be like, these characters are kind of meh. But you start to like really...
that's where I'm at. I'm like, these characters kind of suck.
Caleb is really good.
Caleb gets really
Ford's
good.
arc is so good. I love
really
Ford's
arc.
I love pirate stuff too, personally.
Honestly,
but
well, we can talk about that.
So I'll get that later.
So I guess to kind of give it off, because Eclipse is Phil Coulson. We're essentially all supposed to be really cocky because look at us, we're aspects and stuff, and we're just we can't die. Imagine us not dying, but then someone in our party dies for good.
Yeah, and
Eclipse,
it makes you think about like we may not be able to die, but that doesn't mean that everyone else can't either.
Around us, yeah.
We have to be the ones to be able to protect people who don't have the same powers as us.
Well, and like people we care about, we can die and come back. They can't. Like,
yeah, and Oberyn's already got that down to a T, and so does Zion because he's seen his whole fucking kingdom get blown up, and so it's kind of like we've understood it, but I don't think everyone else actually fully grasped that. yes, we don't.
I still don't know if Edwin really gets it yet.
I don't think so either. I don't. It's strange.
He might. I don't think Sylvana understands it.
It's strange.
Maybe she will moving forward.
But that's what I'm kind of hoping.
Died,
that's what I'm kind of hoping. That we all kind of come together at this point.
But yeah, that the ending was you guys coming together. I think at least a little bit, or the start.
For me, I didn't feel like we came together. I feel like
4 of us did. The 3 of us did.
Yeah, I mean, Edwin was.
Edwin was
like,
there.
Yeah,
he was like, "Yeah, I'll do it.
We're here. I'm here with you." Oh,
Yeah.
I still don't trust. Zion does not trust Edwin.
I mean,
and I don't think I should. It's like
he was the first one to say like, "Hey, man, I'm keeping this amulet," which was like your goal in the beginning, and he was the one who was like, "Nah, I can't let you do that. I got it. So I have to be the one to give it to you, you know." And I hope it doesn't end that way where it's like a fucking, "Ooh, you got the dragon now. Stab, 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 stab. It's mine." You know.
If he wants to do that, like, go for it.
He's the aspect of legend. I mean, he wants to be etched.
He'll get an inclination that he probably shouldn't do that.
I mean, you've probably shown him before.
Maybe he will. Maybe, and he's just like, I'll ignore it, and then stab, dead. Mine now, please.
I suppose with that, I guess we can kind of end the discussion with some small theories.
Yes, give me the theories.
Okay, so I guess
okay,
I'll start first. I've been thinking about it, right, in these past few sessions that I've had to talk to my patron.
Yep.
The more and more I start to think, I think my patron is me.
It's an interesting theory.
It's an interesting theory, but
that's
like
shit.
Yeah. Oh god.
But like, if you really think about it, right? A lot of these things, like, why did my patron have so much inkling in my life in the first place? Why did he do all these things for me, unless he knew these things had to happen? You know, it's like it's almost like a Reverse Flash and Flash situation where it's like if Reverse Flash didn't kill Barry's mom, it wouldn't have made him become the Flash later, which then wouldn't have created Reverse Flash. So it's almost like if my patron didn't come in and cause these chain effects to happen,
it's like Skynet and John Connor and all that.
Right. Then it wouldn't have made me an aspect, which then wouldn't have also made me my own patron. Because like, imagine if I'm my own patron. That would explain a little bit. Like, we share the same weapons, we almost share the same kind of clothes. The only real thing that's and he's not being super like straightforward with his answers. That's like somebody
see it back in the movie Back to the Future as well. Like when Marty has to do that rock show, and then he shows the band outside like how to do it. Like
it's one of those things where it's like
he doesn't do that, he doesn't exist.
If you secretly,
his parents don't get together, and
right, and if it's like when you meet a future version of yourself and you try to ask him questions, they're not going to say straight up what's going to happen, because then it won't happen.
Yep.
That's kind of what like my patron's doing, because instead of being like, here, let me just give you a full, honest answer about why you have to do these things, he's instead saying like, this is just something you have to figure out.
You would not like the full, honest answer.
That's the thing too, because and it makes him angry, but at the same time, it's like, well, if this is Oberyn from like a different
Oberyn Prime, if you would know.
Oberyn Prime, yeah. If this was like another Oberyn,
I love that, by the way.
If this was like another Oberyn that like came to him and was like, I've already witnessed these things, and he has to like come to terms with it, because he's acting like an aspect of cunning, but he's also my patron. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, I have to make these things happen in order for you to become an aspect. But it's almost like he is an aspect, which makes me think, is that me? But I found a way to like, because he found me. It wasn't that it wasn't a chance meeting. He had to find me. And it wasn't like through this world. He probably, because Ohm goes through different things, and he has shown me different things. Things that I would have to learn later, you know? And it makes me think about, like, how do you know about the High Elves? Like, the people who taught me everything. Why did they know this already? Why did I already get visions of me with other people, unless this patron is just me? And if he's like, I just come from a different fucking timeline where I did take the aspect, but I have to, reset. So I had to find you and do everything in a certain way. Because how do you know that unless you've done it yourself?
Right.
And you're like retracing everything to make like Back to the Future. It's like I have to essentially retrace the steps in my life in the past in order for certain events to still go forward in the way that I want it to. Because I've never seen the dude with his hood off. It's always been on.
Never seen it with the hood off.
He just takes the hood off and it's me. And I'm staring. like honestly.
Hasn't been the first time you've seen your body.
And that's the thing too. It's like he hasn't met any other Oberyn. He found me. And that was the key word. It wasn't like, because he even said we didn't meet. It wasn't a chance meeting. I found you. As if he had to scour all over possibly other realities and dimensions just to find
who knows.
Just you to find, do, Matt.
Just to find the one specific Oberyn who's like, maybe this one will do. And I feel like
I will say, if by the end of our couple sessions left, we don't get to a certain part in the story, and we don't know like how next year's gonna go, like real talk, like because maybe things will come up, maybe
right.
There are some things that I want to tell you all just so you know.
Okay.
I don't know if I want to know. Like I want this. Okay, this is a little far-fetched.
Honestly, I kind of want to know.
I don't. See, this is the thing. This is the great thing I love about D&D. Say 20 years from now, fate has it that we all
meet up again.
We not even meet up. We all end up in like a general like hour drive of each other.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to pick up this campaign again and start playing again.
Here's the thing.
So for me, and I would love to dust off Zion's old character sheet and open up my original dice that I bought and like just start at it again. And it's not so much a poetic, but like it's all of us from college getting back together like 20 years from now and playing D&D with our first campaign we ever did, or my first campaign I ever did, but like first campaign we all did together.
Yeah.
And it was this lavish and expansive multiverse that you created, Matt, and being able to reopen that book. See, I don't want to know what the back like inklings of everything are. And I know you do, but
I kind of do.
I would love to reopen everything back up.
It's hard because
it's just like
there's so much that I've poured into this.
That's why I don't want to ruin it.
And but I don't want it to never be known
yeah.
by you guys.
It's like
I made it for you guys.
It's like we can wait for 20 years and do it, but by then 20 years have passed. You might as well just tell us, you know, because like there's a chance encounter, you know, and
it's really hard because there's one character in particular that I want you guys so badly to know what made them into who they are, and
we don't know if we have the time.
I don't think in the next couple of sessions we'll get there. I don't even know if the next year we'll get there. Like, we just got to something I planned last summer.
Right.
Yeah. And like for me, I want to know because there's so many theories where it's just like, I want to know if they're confirmed or not confirmed.
I want to play through those theories though. Like I want to find out.
It's such a long
character,
and I want to too. It's just like one of those things where it's like time. Do we have the time?
Because I know Matt I know you poured a ton into this.
Yeah.
Like, you obviously there's so much to it, and I'm not saying I put the same amount of effort into my character, but I look forward to Sundays because I love playing this douchebag dick character for 4 hours, and it's like. I love it when Sarah's like, oh my God, that's such a Zion line. I'm like, thank you. Yes, it is.
That is a Zion line. Thank you. Someone acknowledges it, you know?
And I love doing that.
Would you guys want to play more if we can?
I would love to play more.
Yeah.
I'm always down. Like,
but I know that's a lot asking from you because I know there's a lot of work that goes into each session.
Because you'd have to prepare a lot, and we don't want to... Because if you're thinking about doing more stuff in the future for theater and stuff, we don't put our with that. Plus, you're gonna be in my movie too. There's gonna be that. You're gonna be in my
Oh
movie
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah. Sorry, I was confused for a second.
The movie.
I was like,
I don't remember. No, I was like,
Well, movie.
please don't tell me you're also out of the movie.
I'm done. We're out now.
I love this so much. I've been so freaking blessed. Like, you guys tell me horror stories of terrible DMs, and so does Liz and Matt, or Liz and Daniel, and Sarah hasn't said too much about bad DMing that she's had to deal with. But like, this
is the best DM of it.
I don't want this to end. Like, I don't want to have you tell me what goes on, because that means it's over.
It's over.
And
You'd have to move on.
Yeah. I don't want to move on from this yet.
I know.
This is something where I'm like, I don't have to move on from. I don't think we can move. We don't have to yet.
We have to commit. We've already been a year and a half into it. We have to commit till the end.
I know.
And
the story, guys. The story that I've
made.
Not made, but the points. You guys make the story.
Mm-hmm.
But the points I have for you guys to hit are
I can't wait to like finish up the like prequel stuff I had written out and that you and I had worked out. I want to finish that up so that we can like compel other people's stories forward and like see where that goes, and like how intermingled you have it, or for me personally, like how intermingled everyone else's story is like somehow laid within each other, because I know you've done that. Like, I know you.
There's a certain
there's
reason.
So many crosses that have passed each other, and it's I want to play through that, and I want to see it. I want to see the expression on the other people's faces along with mine and yours, all at the same time at the same table.
Because obviously we're all there for a reason. I mean, they're not all. There's not just two intertwined noble boys.
It's so perfect that you just said that.
Because it's like,
and you guys don't even.
That's what I'm saying. Like me and Zion connect too, but I bet me and Arthur also connect for some reason, and me and Edwin connect, and me and Leafa connect. There's a reason we're all together. Like,
yeah,
we're not just two noble people who just met in some random people.
I don't want you to tell me it. I want us to play through it.
But that's
the reveal is so good too. I think it's so good because I don't think you guys will see it coming. And then you'll understand some stuff. And then you guys will be like, oh my gosh, that's why whatever happened that I have planned happened. Oh my gosh.
Dude, there's just so much.
I want to play through that. I don't want you to tell me about it. I want us to play through it.
Dude, I just feel like this is going to be
that's
so
what I wanted to
fucking
do from the
big,
beginning.
bro. It's going to be one of those things where it's like, y'all should have knew all along. Because, I mean, Oberyn might know, but he's seen a lot of things, right? Like, multiple realities of us. And it's like every single time it has been us. It hasn't been me with some random strangers. It's been me with you, me with Edwin. It's been a lot of the times where we're still all there. And there's been mentioning of, like, times when we've, like, failed, which means it's happened before. Like, this isn't like just a bunch of random people thrown together. This was like the world has been always trying to link us together, and something happens that causes it to fail, and then the world resets, and they're like, and now we're back as different people, but yet we still meet, and then they die, and then we come back as different people, and then like there's a reason why we're all meeting over and over. Like on that island, that should have been a revelation for everybody. It seems like it was only for me, because like we saw different versions of us. This wasn't like, oh, I don't know why Oberyn's so scared right now. Oberyn has come to realize that we are always together. It's never I'm with, like, even Cerulean is in it. We're all still there. Every single version of us has been us, and like nobody has acknowledged that at
that's
all.
weird.
Yeah, like I'm like, does no one like know? Like we were just on.
Hello.
We saw a journal of us looking at the journal.
That's pretty
in the
weird.
Past.
That's pretty weird.
Like there are past versions of us still together, dying out there, and like no one has like, yeah, that's fucking crazy. Like there's actually, for some reason, even with those random people on that island, we're all still together. Has anyone like noticed that? Like, that's fucking strange. You'd think we'd all be living different lives, but fate has... And the thing is, too, is that the Ohm hasn't had a lot of us join him before. So this isn't the OM doing it. OM is not the one telling us to all meet at certain points, because if that was the case, we would have been aspects every single time.
Yeah.
But no, something else has been tugging at the strings, bringing us all together, and like nobody knows.
That's why I want to play through
One
it.
person knows.
You.
Right. And you're the DM, you have to know.
I know.
And like Oberyn's like,
oh, I
Oberyn's-
want to tell you guys so
No,
bad.
I don't
I
want to
know.
know.
I know.
It hurts.
I can't.
because then
Yeah.
that would ruin it. And
That would ruin it.
It
would
would.
ruin so much work you put into this.
I'm
And I
just
don't want that to spoil. I don't want Zion to just end.
It just feels like to me, and this is kind of a gripe from me because we're kind of going on a little long here. But like, I guess for me, it's like I don't think we understand the scope of what we have done yet, like of what we've seen.
We should have killed those kids.
We have released a Titan, first of all. Second of all, we should have all been having the revelation of the multiple universes, because obviously for
and
me it's vision.
Third,
like,
do you remember what Cerulean was talking about when she found out what you guys did?
she was like that, like it should have happened like
later.
She's like, you guys did what first?
right, like there's
She's like, you let that one out first?
yeah, like no one has caught on that these things have probably happened before. And it's like Matt has been dropping hint after hint of these moments or these parts in time that have been done before. Oh, that's strange. They would have I thought they would have killed you kids earlier, but they didn't this time. Or strange that you guys got to the deep earlier than you should have been. Or it's strange that everyone took, you know, the
So many
aspect
people
more
took aspects.
when compared to last time. Like, has anyone caught on to the fact that we've done this before? Oberyn might, because like the different visions and stuff, because it's like I've seen realities and ending and all that, and it's like,
And it wasn't so much about deep stuff, because I conveyed to you when you asked the question to your patron, like, how
Yeah.
many times have we taken the deep?
yeah,
He's like,
yeah,
you haven't before. Like, this is the first time.
yeah. Like this
That's
is
pretty significant.
like for Oberyn, it's like, Oberyn, you never took it before, ever.
I'm guessing Zion takes
Something-
it almost every time.
Something compelled you to take it this time.
Do you want the answer to that question?
No,
Well, then I guess
I'm gonna stick with Zion took it every time.
Okay.
And that's the thing. Like, I
I
think
kind of
people-
want to know now, but I don't.
think-
Do you want to know?
I mean, we're
Kind of, yeah.
okay.
Well, is it gonna ruin the story that we're in right now?
No.
Okay, then hell yeah, I want to know.
Okay. No.
Really?
Zion, how would you have known about it?
You never had the centipede. This was the one time you had the centipede, and I had my patron, because I never met my patron before. And if
Well,
I
you
never,
don't know if that's true or not.
well, we don't know, but like,
But
there was no way you could have known about the deep in other times.
what is like the thing that people keep talking about, like in regards to you guys, that you were talking about earlier with like the kids and like all that stuff?
It's the fact
We're
that
doing
it's-
things differently.
right. Things are happening in a different way, in a different order. I never took the deal with my.
Things are happening differently. What power do you guys have now?
We have the aspects.
What is that power? What's the word I used to describe it?
Paracausal.
Paracausal.
What does that mean?
That means beyond
Above
fate.
fate.
Above fate.
Yeah. So, because and that's the thing, because now we've taken on a power that essentially changes our fate, when in all other, well, not all other, but in most realities, we never even either knew about it or we thought about it and just never took it. Because this is the first time I've taken it before.
You look
according to my
dissatisfied.
No, I'm just
Thinking.
Well, no, I'm just processing it. I'm
It's
just
a lot.
and it makes sense. Like he wouldn't know about it. So
Yeah, because
how would he take it if he wouldn't have known about it at all?
because the day I met my patron, that was the day you had the centipede. Like that was it.
The day the patron visited you.
Yeah,
in that.
the day.
Yeah,
the
it's
day,
like, wait a
the
minute,
day,
what?
No,
the day the patron visited me was the same day you got that in your
the
bag.
same night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it just happened. And that's the thing too that we have to think about. Like I don't think anyone acknowledges that. It's like
I don't think anybody put that as dots together until I told you guys tonight. But
it's all about.
I hope that doesn't ruin it for you guys.
Yeah,
that just
right.
builds on it, right?
Yeah, it's
right.
like Oberyn is now not fully understood like what's going on, but he understands that.
Well, and Oberyn doesn't know where Zion got that from. Like
No, but like
Zion doesn't even know where he got it from.
at least
No.
we're
Just in his
Shut
bag.
up.
at least with Oberyn's life, because he saw the vision of the centipede being picked up by one of the like elven dudes.
A centipede,
A
okay?
cen-
There's no way you can know it's the same one.
Okay, it was a temple. There was a centipede in a jar, and I think that the vision was on the same day. Because I remember he showed me a vision of the fucking centipede, and what do you know? There was a centipede in the bag.
I don't know what you're talking about, okay?
Yeah, all right. But that's the thing, though. It's like, at least with Oberyn's life, it's a lot of like,
I love that.
it's a lot of like, these things had to happen, and these things have happened in different ways. Obviously, I never took the thing according to my patron. I never took the aspect. Because he's like, why would you? There was no point. But this time, there was.
Who knows?
And
Who knows?
See, I don't want it to.
Who knows?
I don't want it to end because I want to flesh out Zion after he gets through his arc. Like,
dude.
it's assumed that I'm just gonna fucking up and leave.
I mean,
Like that's the vibe I got. Like, people are,
from like playing?
yeah, like people are just gonna assume that I'm gonna get my dragon and peace out, Girl Scout.
Ah, I see what you're saying now.
Like I get my
I
thing
didn't
and then
get
I'm
that.
out. See you later.
No, because I think, because for me, it's like we're helping Zion get this, but he's also helping us because he has a dragon.
Yeah, it's like when they get
It's an equal exchange. It's like you're
it's
helping
like when they're
us.
getting the vestiges of divergence from the first campaign. Like, yeah, like this is gonna be your vestige to make our whole party stronger.
Yeah, but I think
That's what it should be like, I guess.
But I think everyone.
That's not the vibe I'm getting. I'm getting like I don't know. Maybe it's
that's
just
why
me.
That's why me and Arthur and you did the blood pack thing, because it's like
Yeah.
we completely understand why you're going after. Like this isn't
2 out of a total of 6 others. That's a third.
2 out of 5 others.
2 out of 5.
6 including yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't trust Edwin and you don't trust Sylvana, but you can at least trust Oberyn and Arthur, where it's like, we're with you to the end, man. Like we know why you're here. We can understand why you're here, and
Yeah,
you're
but
not.
I
Obviously,
need everybody.
right.
If this thing respects hunting, I don't have a whole lot of things in my bag that are hunting besides a bear trap or a hunting trap. You know how much that hunting trap's gonna do to an ancient dragon?
Honestly, Arthur might be the best candidate for this dragon, seeing as he has a bunch of teeth from the animals that he's murdered.
But we're not murdering the dragon. I also think
I'm just saying,
people
like,
don't realize that either. It's like,
we're not
no, we're not killing it.
We're taming it.
I'm going to tame it, and it will be my mount, and it will be one with me,
Yeah, but
and we'll live in harmony.
they're just
And-
like, why do you want to kill this dragon? And I'm like, he's not here to kill. He used in out of character, they're like, we know why you're here. You have the amulet to ride the dragon. But in character, it's like,
Have I really been that secretive about it?
you haven't told
I
anybody.
don't think it like
Okay. I saw like the scale like on the top of his like
Okay.
base of his spine.
I'll
once.
say like you haven't shared a lot of your goals with like
people.
but that's not
That's not a bad thing.
no, I don't think it's bad. Everybody's like, you haven't told us anything about it. And I'm just like,
He doesn't have a right
he-
to.
what- he's asking for your help. Like, okay, person who I know the entire backstory of, like you're gonna talk to him about keeping secrets?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
okay.
It's like we don't even know anything about you. I know
And
a little bit about Zion.
I didn't want to get into that debate in session
Right.
because we've had our discussions about that. About well, you haven't said anything. Well, you haven't said anything. It goes
Yeah.
on for hours. It's like, all right, this is what I'm fucking about. Like, fucking
It was-
satisfy you.
It was the same with me when I had to reveal my Valandrian stuff. I was like, there's no point in
Yeah,
being secretive.
boom, here it is.
I was like, yes, my dad is an emperor of a bunch of Asamar samurai. I'm his son. I'm an Asamar. My name is Oberyn Valandris. Boom.
Accept it. Move on. We have
Move
a
on.
dragon to capture,
Right.
and then a beholder to capture.
God, we have a dragon to tame and a beholder to capture. Golly.
We can't kill either.
And we can't. Oh God, these fights are gonna be.
Hey, you made a blood pack. So
No, I mean
you made a blood pack.
I'm all for
in
it,
this, man.
I'm all for it. I'm just like, golly, this is gonna be tough. We're probably going to die. I'm not. I mean, for Oberyn, it's like death is death. I guess I've died before, but like
we can't die on this one.
I know.
I
know.
The dragon's be like, "How are you back? I killed you. What is going on here?"
Wouldn't that be respectable though? Because then it's
No!
like I can't die.
No,
I'm an unkillable. I'm an unkillable
The
rider.
dragon's gonna look at me and be like, "I already killed you once. I'll do it again." And you're show up and do it
Dormammu
again.
have come to bargain. I mean,
Dormammu have come to bargain.
you just wear him out until he's like, "Fine, I'll let you ride me. Fuck, whatever. Stop coming back."
We don't have time for that either. We have a beholder to catch.
Yeah, we have a timetable.
Exactly. We don't have time to do Dormammu.
But I think on the topic of time, I think that is where we shall
Yep,
end
I think
this
that's
one.
it. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode of the 50/50 Take It or Leave It podcast. I hope you all have a wonderful day.